All right. So one of the things that becomes a problem for people in Gmail is that you don't really have to delete mail. It can just pile up and pile up and pile up. If you're filing it away or labeling it properly, you don't really even notice. As long as you keep your primary box fairly tight, it's not easy to notice that, for instance, I've got 1,000 messages sitting over here in the forum label, or 1,300 in my Shen label. Okay, so it doesn't show necessarily how much mail is in your mailbox all in one sitting. What you see most of the time is just what's in your inbox. So how do you search all these different labels where you put mail, or even if you've archived it and it went into the all mail folder? When you archive, that's what happens, is it just goes in here and gets it out of your inbox. So how do we search mail effectively? So there's this nice little search box up here, and this search box is very much a Google Omnibar kind of box. It does everything that you can do in a normal Google one, only just with your Gmail. So if you click on this little downy arrow here, there's all kinds of search parameters. So you can say from a certain individual. So let's say I want to get stuff from my boss. So there we go, Ken McDermott. So notice I can select him. I can also select his Shennet email if he's emailed me from either of those. And the mail may have come from one or the other, so sometimes it's useful to make sure you put both. Now, if I click search, what you'll notice is up here, Google uses a specific syntax, from, and then it puts them parentheses, one email address, comma, the other email address. Okay, so that's one way of doing it. So I'm going to come in here and I'm actually going to take out the shennet.org and search only for messages that he sent me from shenschools.org. And you see I get a lot, because what that was looking for was actually a message that he sent from both accounts to me, rather than from one or the other. But we can also drill down here and get a little bit more specific. So let's try this. I was guessing on the subject of one. Try another guess. There we go. So you can see Google puts these from colon, subject colon. You can also just select them from pulling this pull down here. You can say has attachments, it was sent in the last 7 days. You can say search just one of my labels, not all of my mailboxes. Okay. Has the words anywhere in the body or the subject. Doesn't have the following words. Okay, so you can do all those things. So I've got this nice little result here that's got 7 different conversation threads, 4 of which were deemed important that I tagged them. Okay, so what happens if I want to set up a filter that anytime I get an email from Ken that has the subject Google, it does something specific with it? So the same search box is also the way you set up filters, which in Outlook are called rules. So if I click this down arrow here, you can see there's a create filter button. When I click that, it takes this criteria that I've already specified, the from and the subject. So when a message arrives that matches this search, here's what I want to happen. So in this case, I'm going to do something pretty bland, because I don't want to move these around. But notice I could put it in a label, which means it'll automatically go into that label. And when I say apply label, I can also say skip the inbox, which means I won't see it in my main mailbox. It'll automatically just go into that label. Okay, so be careful with the skip the inbox, because it means you don't see it here. You'll only see it in one of these down here. And if you're not paying attention to the bold so that you've seen new messages there, you could lose track of things. So it's not something I necessarily suggest you do. But if you're getting a lot of routine messages that you want to file away without really looking at, that's a good thing to do. So I'm going to say, in this case, I'm going to just put a star on it, kind of tagging it as important. Okay, or I could actually mark it with the specific important tag versus the generic star. Okay, I say create filter, and voila, I've created a filter. Now whenever messages come in from Ken with Google, it's going to add that star to those messages, this tag over here. Notice it didn't do that for those ones I already had, because I didn't tell it to apply the filter to the messages already in my inbox. I can come over here to my gear and go to settings. And then you can see that filters and blocked addresses is here. And from here, you can see all the different filters I've set up to do things. including the one that I just set up with messages from Ken McDermott with Google. Okay, so I say continue, and then here's where I had those options. And this is the box I could have checked to apply it to the 7 that already exist to add the star. Update filter. Now they're all starred. Okay, if I come back over here to my inbox and I say show me all of my starred messages, it's going to have all of those ones from Ken down here. Now note, you can also star things with different colors too. If you cycle through this, you can see the colors change. And then, I don't know what the, there it is, purple dash star. So I can come up here and go is starred purple as purple dash star. And it shows me only the ones with purple. So you have multiple colors here that you can go through. That's controlled in your settings. You can control how many stars you have and what colors you're using. So if you come over here to settings, and I believe it's in the general section, it is right here. You can drag from in use to not in use to get rid of those different colors. And then you'll only have 2 colors or 3 colors, but you can search by those stars too.